An X-Flame has returned. Oh boy. Welcome to Playing the Field. I'm Ryan Field, the sports anchor here at Channel 7 in New York City. Alongside me, as always, our Bachelor insiders, Miss Gina Sirico out in Los Angeles, Jenn Matarese here from WABC in New York. And ladies, so much to discuss. What a fantastic episode filled with drama. We did not get a rose ceremony, which we had a feeling that was going to happen when the X came in late in the episode. I was like, well, there's no way there's going to be a rose ceremony this week. But before we get into all of that, we want to start off with some Bachelor news. Gina, we understand you have some Bachelor news for us.
Yes, a little breaking news. Not really. I mean, so here's the deal. I'm going to get to chat with Jenn this week. And
Jenn Tran.
Jenn Tran, our Bachelorette.
Not our Bachelor insider, Jenn.
Yes. Correct. I talk to her daily.
Okay,
I will be speaking with Jenn Tran, the Bachelorette, this week. And I have a lot to chat with her. She's going to be here in LA, so she's going to come in and we're going to have a little chit chat. And I'm going to bring that to you on the pod next week.
Nice. What is the occasion for her to meet with you? Is there something she's promoting, or is it?
She missed me.
Well,
no,
who wouldn't?
No, it was just an opportunity. She was here in LA, or she's going to be here in LA. So we said, get her here.
And we're going to have some of this on the pod next week. Some of her mid-season thoughts, if you will.
Mm-hmm. Yes. I really want to talk to her about this man that came in.
Oh, dun, dun,
about the men that are there.
Now, we typically go in, those of you who are friends of the program, and we appreciate you very much, we typically go in sequential order on this podcast in talking about the episode. Do we do the same thing, or do we start at the end because it's so juicy?
Ooh, that's an interesting take. What do you want to do, Gina?
You know what? The hesitation means we're just going to do it the way we
order.
normally do
But
it.
no, it's
we're going to go in order. Gina got thrown off by the question. We don't want to throw her off her game right before we get started here.
We can start at the end if you would like.
Well, or we save the best for last.
Save the best
which is
for
what
last.
we like
Let's
to
save
do.
the best
I mean,
for
we
last.
like to think the whole thing is good, but we're going to save the best for last. That's what we're going to do.
There's a lot of drama.
There is a lot of drama.
A lot to discuss.
So let's start at the top. Jenn and her 12, as she calls them, boyfriends, have arrived in Auckland, New Zealand, a beautiful city in a beautiful country. Very, very jealous. So they went from Australia to New Zealand. They are still down under. And because things are opposite on that side of the world, the way the toilet flushes and everything else, we also find out that you're allowed to eat now on The Bachelor, which was a huge deal, that Jesse and Jenn ate food, which I think that was the first time Jesse made it, alluded to it, first time since he was The Bachelor that they were allowed to eat.
Yeah, I mean, I forgot until they showed the clips of him as the Bachelor.
Yeah, with his mouth
full. Noshing away. And it's like, oh, Jesse. I remember thinking, oh, wow, look how handsome he is. And I guess now it's like, oh.
And it was funny, Gina, because we talked to Jenn about that. Or was it Joey? We're like, why does no one eat on this show? That's like one of life's most pressing questions. It was top secret. And now I feel like the secret is out. We find out that Jesse was the one. It's his fault why they don't eat. And then Jenn was actually eating as well. And they were having a full-fledged conversation while they were having lunch. Go figure.
Exactly. I mean, and it's funny because, I love that Jesse took the blame. He's like, yeah, you know why nobody eats on dates? It's because I was a messy eater. It basically is what it was. And here we are. And that, but they did get to nosh a little bit. But notice it wasn't like a full-on meal or anything. They brought everything.
Finger foods.
And then they took a little bite here and there. And then she left. So it was like, okay.
I mean,
still
Jesse
not eating.
Was serving. Jenn, I think he was all ready for this full meal. I mean, he seems like a guy who likes his food. He does host a baking show.
Yeah,
correct?
we talked about that. Yeah,
I think he's there for the good food.
And listen, I am a proponent of them eating on the show because we want this show to feel like as real life as possible, right?
Yeah.
So when you're on a date, you're out with your husband, Gina, you're out with your date, your boyfriend, whoever it may be, you're eating. You're having conversations over food. I wish they would bring that back.
You are, but also I don't know if I want to see in people's mouths that they're chewing as they're talking. I don't know. I mean, they'd have to really make a roll.
Ryan.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's a good point. Well, listen, there's a lot to chew on with Sam M's date. He gets the first one-on-one, right? We're not surprised. We've talked about their sexual chemistry, everything else. And, I thought Sam kind of saved himself at the end of that date by finally reading the room, if you will.
It was a close one.
So, it was a close one. Yeah, we can kind of use when art imitates life. They were literally teetering on the edge like they were on top of that building. This date was on the verge of going south because she was having a panic attack, for lack of a better phrase, at the top of that building.
All right, come on out for me. Keep coming, Jen.
I am clearly terrified, and Sam's not reading my emotions at all. I feel like I'm up here all by myself.
I don't know if I'm the only one who thought this. She did address it. She's like, I know I jumped out of a plane, but this is why this is different. Do you feel that it would be?
Yes. As someone who has been skydiving 3 times and also bungee jumping once, bungee jumping, there is something that is a little more scary about bungee jumping than there is about jumping out of a plane. Yes. Something about seeing the bottom so close and just kind of stepping off. Plus, you're doing this by yourself. And those of you that have been skydiving, and Gina, I mean, you got your tandem partner strapped onto your back when you're skydiving, which kind of gives you a safety net, if you will. No such case when you're rappelling, or in this case, just jumping off a building.
Exactly. For me, I was just like, absolutely not. No, I don't even know if I would have gone to the top of the building for dinner or whatever, drinks or whatever they were doing. Like, just immediately no. Immediately no. And the fact that, to me, I think the thing that bothered me the most about Sam is when she was trying to explain that she was nervous and scared, and this is a 2-person decision and you're just making the decision for me. He was laughing. And I'm like, that was not nervous laughing. That was, ha ha ha, we're going to do this and you're going to like it.
And we've talked about this.
I did not like that at all.
And I feel like most women did not. And we've talked about this bro energy that Sam has, and that was on full display, I think, right from the jump in this date, no pun intended.
Devil's advocate here.
Oh.
Okay.
You're going to take Sam's side here?
A little bit. Okay, here are my thoughts. And I was going to talk to Gina about this before the podcast started.
No,
I was like,
we want it
organically
to come up right now.
So let's see if I can get my thoughts together here. Okay, so you're on the show.
Yeah.
They're offering for you to jump off a building or take this walk. Wouldn't you be thinking, well, they wouldn't be presenting this unless we're supposed to do it? I've seen the show before. They jump off of things, they bungee jump, they do this. So obviously we're supposed to do this, and she jumped out of a plane, so maybe I'm supposed to be the one that encourages this, really pushes her to face her fear and whatever. So that's what I was thinking he might be thinking.
Yeah, but the way it looked to me, Gina, when they were having lunch and then you see the people jump off behind them, Jen was very surprised by that. I don't think she thought there was going to be anything going on. She just thought it was going to be a great view. She gets to hang with Sam, get to know him a little bit better. That's kind of how I saw it.
And that, exactly. And the thing is, like, she said it. She's like, I want to, see if I can get to know him now and see if there's more than just this physical connection. Well, she sees these people, jumping down, and immediately the first thing I thought was, oh God, no, please, just, which is, I think, the exact same thought that she was having, and he was like, oh yeah, that's great. And when they came over to offer them the opportunity to do it, she said no, and he said, no, we're going to jump.
It's the famous sky jump of Auckland. You can try if you want, but you can walk around the tower and just enjoy the view.
A walk sounds lovely.
Jump?
No, we would like to jump.
I hate heights. I don't want to do this. Without even asking me. He made a decision for the both of us.
I think he needs to be doing a better job of reading my emotions right now.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, no, you did not. Oh,
it's a little pushy. Yes.
Exactly. It wasn't the fact that they were going to do it. It was the way that he presented it and the way that he is like, you're going to do it. We're going to do this. And, the excuse that he made was, oh, well, I don't want you to, look back in 50 years and say, I wish I would have jumped off of that building. I'm sorry. No, if I wanted to do it, I was going to do it. Or I would be like, all right, I'll do it. But he just made it seem like this is it. This is what we're going to do, my way or the highway. And that was a huge turnoff for me.
Yeah, and you could tell she got quiet. She was sipping on her drink, had nothing to say. Like, she was very nervous in one sense and very annoyed in the other as that date was unfolding. And then it magnified when they got on the rooftop, or I should say on the top of that building, and she was freaking out, and understandably so.
I mean, it shows that he doesn't know her that well yet.
Well, he doesn't. That was their first one-on-one date.
Yeah. So, but was he actually listening and taking the time to try to get to know her? I don't know.
He's just going to keep the main thing the main thing.
Oh, no.
If he says
He's
that
just going to try and be his authentic self.
If he says that one more time, I tell you what. But listen, we did say he saved himself, and I thought when they had their when they got changed and had their one-on-one dinner date, if you will, and he tells her that she's worthy of love, and they kind of have this emotional moment, and I think she saw another side of him. We all did. A sensitive side of Sam where not so much bro energy. We're like, okay, this guy definitely has a sensitive side, and that's when she gives him the rose, which we all knew was going to happen.
Well, I thought it wasn't going to happen at one
No,
point.
you didn't think. Oh, you didn't think at one point she was
at one point.
Like,
I mean, they did sort of make out after she finally got to the bottom of the building, and I was like, well, is she just going with the flow here, or is she still into him?
Right.
They had already made out a few times. What's one more, right? I don't know. I was like, if this conversation doesn't go well, she may say, I have great chemistry with you, but I just can't see it going forward,
Well, it didn't come to that, and he got a rose. Gina, were you surprised by that or no?
I mean, no, not really, because I do think that he said in that date, like, words and speaking about, how I feel doesn't come easy to me or something to that effect. And I was like, okay, well,
Gina's not a fan.
No, this really, it really left a bad taste in my mouth. Don't to me, it was just, he's trying to play it both sides here, where it's like, we're going to do what I want and you're going to like it. And then also be like, oh yeah, I have feelings. But to me, aside from the fact that he said, he got cheated on, that was the one thing that he did say that was like, oh, okay, sorry to hear it.
Right.
I didn't learn anything else about him. I feel like I know so much more about some of these other guys. Because of the conversations that they had, it felt like she was trying to pull things out of him, and he was very, very reluctant. And expressing my feelings through words has never been a strong suit for me. But you're literally fighting for your love life right here.
Right.
Try a little bit harder.
Yeah,
and it felt like he'd said just enough to make her like, okay, here's the rose.
Yeah. I mean, I think we all agree there's not a lot of depth to him. And while we just maybe saw a tiny bit, I definitely think there is more. And if you're Jenn, you probably want to see more if he's going to be one of the final three.
Yeah, I mean, we're getting down to it here.
Yeah, right.
The eliminations are happening. He's going to have to show more of himself for her to want to keep him into that final 3 or 2 or 1, if he's the guy. Yeah. But he's not Gina's guy. I think
he is. Yeah, Gina's very broken up that he got cheated on.
It's one of those. Yeah, I'm sorry.
She's not sorry. Look at her.
Maybe. He wasn't attuned to her feelings, and she was like, "I'm gonna find somebody who is." I don't know.
It's a good point.
If he isn't the one and he ends up at the Men Tell All, I'm really interested to hear what you have to say to him, Gina.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that too.
I can't wait to have that conversation.
We are running that entire interview.
My T-shirt. I don't know if you can see what this says.
Save the drama.
It says "Save the drama for your mama."
Wow.
That is my shirt. That is
so
my
appropriate for this.
Very appropriate for this podcast. And there was plenty of drama on the group date. They all play rugby, which I thought was fun. I like when Jesse goes into play-by-play mode. They had a former rugby player as the color analyst. Jenn was there as well. And, these guys are all a lot of testosterone, a lot of built up, a lot of pent-up aggression, if you will. And they kind of alluded to that, like guys are going to be coming after each other on this rugby field.
There's been some pent-up aggression happening in the house. I think that there's some scores that are going to get settled on the pitch today.
I'm ready to murder somebody.
I felt like they didn't too much other than Sam N, who was just out of
out
his
of
mind.
control. Yeah, I don't know what he had for breakfast that morning, or an
Extra Wheaties.
extra shot in his coffee, or what. But he was
came to
on a
play.
whole nother level, and I feel like Jen was not feeling that from the jump. She kind of played it off for the cameras, but I did not feel like she was all about that in any way, shape, or form.
Yeah, he was bound and determined. I mean, and he kept saying it. I'm going to get the group date rose. I'm going to do this. This is all for Jen. But I think the intensity in which he was operating that whole date was overwhelming and a lot. And again, that comes to, goes back to the inexperience of like dating and, being around other people that are like, you know what I mean? Like it just felt very, very intense to the point where it was off-putting.
Yes.
And yeah, I felt bad for him. You understand where he's coming from. You understand that he wants to like set himself apart and like he doesn't want to feel like, he's falling behind. And like even the guy said it, he operates from this level way up here, or like he's way down low and feeling sorry for himself. There was no middle ground for him. That's an issue.
I felt like he saw it work for Devin and he was like, well, I'm going to do that. I'm going to get those moments just like that guy did, and it didn't work for him because he's not Devin. He doesn't have that experience. He doesn't have the personality really to like pull it off. I don't know.
Yeah. And listen, this is a guy who's never had a girlfriend before, never been in love before. Now all of a sudden wants to marry Jen. And, I thought it was kind of cute with the jersey. Jen's husband,
like
Jen's what?
That was cute.
Jen's wife. It was a nice touch.
No,
yeah,
it was
okay. Icky or nice touch?
Out of everything, that was the moment where I was like, all right.
I mean, at least he brought her a gift.
He brought her a gift, A for effort. He was thinking outside the box. It made her smile, but you could tell again that she was not feeling it. Marcus got his shoulder messed up. They talked about that. She could put a little stethoscope on him, and
they had a moment.
They had a moment, and she likes Marcus, and I think she likes seeing this tough guy be vulnerable, Gina, and he's done that now a couple times with her.
Yeah, absolutely. His vulnerabilities made me a little teary. I will say that, when you go through what he has gone through, when you go through a huge trauma, like what he has been through and what he has seen, when he was talking about shouldering, she's like, it's okay. You don't have to carry all of this. Like he wanted to be strong. And, I appreciated that. But also you just go, you know what? It's okay to not shoulder everything. And Jenn tried to tell him that. And I think it really touched him. And, when he did get the group date rose, him tearing up, and the guys kind of being like, dude, I respect you.
Yeah.
I got that. That was a really beautiful moment for me. Like it erased all the intensity of Sam N and then the ick and the masculinity overload of Sam M.
Yeah.
So to me, I was like, yeah, Marcus, you're a good guy.
that was well put. And from a guy's perspective, I like when Jenn told him, like, listen, I can carry some of this too. Like, you don't have to shoulder everything all the time. I can do my part as well in a relationship. And from a guy's perspective, I loved hearing that.
It was pretty perceptive of her to be able to say that in that moment too, and to think of that instance as a way to use it as an example for their relationship going forward, that she could, take on some of that with him. And I think it was really meaningful.
Yeah, I think so too. And that's why Marcus got the group rose. So
well deserved. He's moving on. I have my board here of the final 12 guys, and now we can go down to 11. Sam N, we can cross him off, right? Bye, Sam.
Walked him out. I mean, I thought it was weird. He's like, can I kiss you?
If you
As
have
a guy,
to ask,
you never ask. Never ask.
They will say in modern day it's nice to ask, but I
Who
think
says that in modern day?
For, consent and stuff.
Gina, would you like it? Jen,
I don't
we can't
like
ask
to be
Jen
asked.
because
No.
Jen's married. We can't ask her anymore.
No, I don't like being asked though. I think if you have to ask, like you should know that the kiss is wanted.
Did you kiss your husband on the first date?
Yeah.
Oh, did he ask to kiss you?
No.
So who made the first move, him or you? Oh, she's got to.
He did. But
I hope, for your sake, I hope he did.
No, he did.
He did. And you kissed him back?
Oh, yeah. We're married
listen.
now. I said, hey, get out of here.
Listen, it might have been a peck on the lips. I didn't know if you were kissing him back.
No, it was a very nice kiss.
A very nice kiss. Gina, would you like it on a first date if a guy asked to kiss you?
Here's the thing. It's all about the moment.
Mm-hmm.
And if we bring it back to Jenn and Sam N, when he did that and he went in for that moment, he interrupted somebody. He had already had his time. That would have been the time to ask for the kiss.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And it was just in the way that he did it was so uncomfortable. And I think that's when Jenn realized, we gotta.
Speaking of uncomfortable,
it's not going to get any better.
And listen, credit to her. She knew he wasn't going to be it for her, and she realized that he's very immature from a dating standpoint. Doesn't have a lot of experience, and she knew that from the jump, and didn't kind of want to have to carry him through this. Mm-hmm. So she's like, he needs to go find someone that's going to love him for him, and kudos to her for doing that. But speaking of people that I'm suddenly not liking, is Thomas.
Oh.
Thomas pulls him aside. It's like, what is with
always
this guy?
In the mix.
Yeah, and you know what? And he's always in the mix. And I'll say this: he was loaded when he sat down with Jenn. When he got up from the couch, he stumbled, couldn't even walk straight.
I didn't catch that.
Yeah. Oh yeah, he was definitely.
And he was glassy-eyed the last time too. So he gets that liquid courage.
Liquid courage, starts mouthing off to people. Pulling Sam off to the side. It's like, bro, who are you? Like the policeman of the house? Like I don't
the right
understand.
reasons police.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, there's always one.
Not a fan of that dude.
Him.
And I don't think Jenn likes him either. When they were sitting down, Gina, on the couch, and he was like, yeah, so my family's this, this, and this. Like he wasn't even talking about her really at all, about their relationship. He was just talking about their family. And Jenn was like, like definitely not interested at all. And I think he's going to be one of the next ones to go.
Well, first of all, I wonder if do you ever notice the guys are always like, yeah, Thomas, go ahead, go talk, go do it.
Like
go
he's
talk.
the
They did that
spokesperson?
with Devin.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I feel like they might be setting him up a little bit for that.
Maybe.
That's just a little observation on that front. When it comes to the conversations, I wonder in that moment if she saw Sam kind of lurking in the background and was kind of like, couldn't pay full attention.
I don't think
also,
so. I think he came in. I think he came
in
hot and walked right in. That's what I think happened. But go ahead. Sorry to interrupt you.
But again, early on, I thought maybe that, we talked about it, that Thomas might be, somebody she could really connect with. And he's proven that, no, not so much.
I think the connection is
He's talking
limited.
about Sam N being a child, but he seems to be a little bit of one.
Yeah, exactly.
For sure.
Well put.
Very much so.
Very much so. And while those guys were on their group date, of course, Sam and Devin have to be left to the house themselves. And why do they have to sit on the couch next to each other? I would be in my room with the door closed. I know it's not good for TV.
They probably said, hey.
Of course they did.
But
it's like
maybe have a little time together. Go see what this guy's up to.
Yeah, and Devin is right. Like he doesn't talk about Sam at all, but all Sam wants to do is talk about Devin. And I think he's kind of intimidated by Devin in the sense that he's not as good looking as everybody else. Not as in good as physical shape as everyone else, but can carry and hold a room and hold a conversation because of his personality, and he just kind of has like this magnetism about him, and I think that's kind of intimidating to Sam because he also knows that Sam really doesn't get to Devin. Devin doesn't really seem to care, I don't think. I think he likes to make fun of Sam more than anything else, more than he's bothered by him, Gina.
Absolutely. And by the way, if you noticed, a minute and a half into the show, we had Sam mentioning Devin.
Right. Every time.
So dude, what, you sit there and you tell him, oh, I never talk about you. Your name never comes out of my mouth. It absolutely does. The producers aren't putting that word into your mouth. You're saying it.
I want to see a counter on the screen.
They should. And every time he says Devin, yeah. Let's hope it's not a drinking game.
I know. I was just going to say that.
People will be as drunk as Thomas by the end of the episode.
Oh, my goodness.
Hey-o. But I also don't like when Sam is like, boy, you don't say that, boy.
So I had this whole,
I was like, come on,
he
dude.
was turning around for me, and I was like, oh, Sam M's not that bad.
I think
and
you
then
saw
that
the real him in that moment.
But his family, however, came to his rescue on social media. His mom, his dad, and I believe his sister are saying, it's the edit. It's the edit. I can't believe they're editing him this way. He's such a nice guy, blah, blah, blah. So
I mean,
there's certain things you can't edit. Let's be honest.
Yeah,
right?
Him losing his temper and him acting that way towards Jen, that was no edit. Those are things that he said.
There may be some things that were, they're
maybe
obviously
left
taking,
out.
Yeah. But I think we have the picture here.
I think we definitely do. Gina, do you agree?
Oh, yeah, I agree. I have a picture. It's so funny because I think one of the things that everyone was talking about, well, he got the first impression rose. Well, it's like if you look at the data, and not everybody, I think it's very rare that the person who gets the first impression rose makes it all the way to the end. Yeah. And is the one that becomes the fiance, because they become engaged. So for them to be like, oh, he's got the first impression rose and he left an impression on her. Well, yeah, but guess what? All of his actions now, that was then. This is now. What happened up on the top of that Sky Tower thing, that was not cool. I was so angry. I was in my home yelling about it. It's just not the way you treat somebody that you're trying to impress.
Right.
Listen, that was just so. Ryan, for you, I'm going to ask the guy's perspective. If your guy, your guy friends said, "Hey, yeah, this happened," and told you basically what happened, what would you tell them?
Yeah, of course. I would be like, dude, you did not handle that the right way. I would flat out say that. But listen, a lot of guys, he's only 27, which in dog years for guys makes him, 18 in guy years?
It goes the opposite way.
Yeah, it goes the opposite way, for sure. Men are far more immature than women. So
I'm glad that you said it.
Yeah, exactly. So I think he's got a lot of growing up to do. But I did like that one side of him when he talked about, he showed a little bit of vulnerability. But that being said, Devin now, after their one-on-one, looks that much better for how that whole thing came about in terms of they shared the commonality about his mom and her mom. And, he was like, I'm falling for you. And she's like waving her hand in front of her face. Like, Devin, she has that little voice. It definitely, there is something there and leads me to believe that he's going to be one of the final three, Jen.
Yeah, I like him. I like him a lot. I liked how he really leaned into the state. He fully participated. He just really seemed to appreciate everything, every moment with Jen.
Yeah.
He really seemed to appreciate it. And they did. They had that connection with their past. And I think he's going to go far.
Gina, do you agree?
I do too. I do. There's something about when those two are together, and we kind of alluded to it before, where it's like there is this sort of charisma that, or I believe they call it Riz, that Devin has, that just it emanates from, through the TV screen. Like, you want to be friends with him. And I think that whatever it is between the two of them makes Jen feel so comfortable. She doesn't seem, she just seems very happy and at ease and at peace when she is with him. Whatever they're doing, even in the very beginning, when they were just getting the ice cream, they just had this, it was an ease about them. And that's something that, if you remember last season, that was the ease that Joey and Kelsey had.
Absolutely.
That was the ease that Zach and Katie had, even before.
Mm-hmm.
So to just kind of, you look at it and you're like, wait a minute. Okay. I get it. I get why he is, feeling as good as he is about his connection with her. And I also get why the guys don't like him, because I think for Sam M, he's used to being like the big man on campus and the guy who has all the charisma and the good looking guy who always gets the girl. And to have somebody who has that natural connection with her, where he just is literally just going with the physical and the intimate, it irks him. And that's the thing that's why there is that friction between him and Devin. And so, but going back to Devin, I love the fact that he opened up the way he did and talked about how, this date, and she made it easy for him to open up. He brings out the best in her, and she does No, sorry, other way. She brings out the best in him.
And vice versa. I think I would agree with you.
Yeah.
He listens. He really listens to what she has to say and builds upon the conversation, where I think Sam M just sort of, it's like, here's all this. And she's like, oh, okay. You know, like they have a natural back and forth, and it's easy. It's just, I don't know. It's a good connection there. And she said she's falling for him. I mean, that's huge.
Unbelievable. I am begging for the Sam and Devin 2-on-1 to happen. And I have a feeling that is in our future.
Next season, or next episode.
Yeah, it was last season. It was Maria, and what was the blonde woman's name? They were Sydney. They were on the boat, and Joey was in the middle. That was fantastic. I'm hoping for more of the same.
I don't think there's much of a contest. I mean,
there's not, but it's going to be. I want that to happen so Jenn can see that side of Sam. Just kind of, hopefully, he just tees off on Devin, and she walks in, and like that's that's the end of that. I would love to see it. One thing she did not love to see, Matthew. Dun, dun, dun. This dude pays his own way to go from Atlanta all the way to New Zealand. And those of you that have taken this halfway around the world flight know that you wake up or you land in either Australia or New Zealand and you are delirious. So this poor guy flies halfway around the world on his own dime, lands at the airport, takes the shuttle to the hotel. Here's Jesse. Yo, bro, no time to rest. Get your ass out there and go see Jenn.
Make your case.
I know. Yeah, make your case. You're half asleep. Get out there and let's see what you got.
He was pretty well spoken for someone.
Yeah, he was. I was very impressed. And he looked as refreshed as humanly possible. Hopefully he booked a first-class seat for his own sake.
He was attractive. I'll say that. I think he fits right in with this group as far as like a guy she would date.
Absolutely.
And she did date at one point, but
3 years ago.
Yeah, I mean, and she made a note that this was not the toxic ex.
Toxic ex. And Gina, I think the first thing, I'm very big on body language and facial expressions. She was not disappointed that he was there. She was like, Matthew, and like had like this little chuckle. And she's like, what are you doing here? Like, it was that kind of, it wasn't like, dude, what are you doing here? Yeah. Like, it wasn't like she was pissed to see him.
No, not at all.
She was like genuinely surprised. And maybe a little bit of a heart flutter, like, wow, clearly they have some history.
I mean, if someone flies around the world for you, you have to be like, whoa, like that's kind of an eye-opener.
Yeah, that's how I feel if I went on a date with a girl in Brooklyn. I feel like that's got to count for something, coming from Manhattan all the way over there.
You went to another borough.
Trains to get there. I mean,
Hey, listen, she better be welcoming me with open arms at that point. But you know what I mean? It's like once I saw that part of her reaction, and then when they sat down and they were talking, clearly this is someone that she has had previous interest in. And maybe Gina has still some feelings towards this guy. And I'm very curious to see how this all plays out.
Well, they both did say that they were still friendly. He made it seem like it was a little bit more. But she said, no, we stayed in contact as friends. And she made it a point to say as friends. She also said, you could have talked about this. We could have had this discussion before I left, which fair point. Why would you do that? Turns out, I mean,
she's been sleuthing.
A little history. Yeah. Yeah. She, this guy, Matt, he's on TikTok. And he, I guess a few months ago when she was on The Bachelor, made a video about how, oh yeah, I guess, when you find out that feeling when you find out your ex is on The Bachelor. And never said who it was, never mentioned it. And he mentioned that he was like a bad boy, like a little bit of a player. He used different terms, but he's got a cute dog. And so he uses the dog to make him seem cute. But he did the video in the dog voice, I have this ex and we were great together. But then I was like a player and so we broke up, but I'm still, and now I see her on there, but I'm still a player. So he admitted a few months ago that he was still a player. So, which is basically when all of this was kind of going on, because we know that, this show wasn't filmed yesterday. So to me, I'm going to really be interested to see how this continues with this guy, because is he there for attention and clout, or as they say on the show, the wrong reasons? Or is he really there because he really cares about her? Because as she mentioned, this visit could have been an email. We could have had this conversation before I left for this show when he obviously knew that she was going.
Now, two things. One, Gina, your breakdown of him was very impressive. From a sports standpoint, that was a scouting report unlike any other, the way you broke that down, X's and O's, the whole thing.
Sometimes we got to do the work,
That was very impressive. Now, I will say this. We've had Jenn on this podcast, and we asked her about the timeline of things, and she made it seem like, she didn't know for sure she was going to be the Bachelorette, and she wasn't their first. She didn't know if she was their first choice. And, we talked to her, 10 days before they made this announcement, and she still didn't know. On this show, she said, "Oh, you still went to those weddings," which made it seem to me like she was going to be his date for those weddings. And I think
that's the plan.
Yes. So all of a sudden now she's the Bachelorette, which is in my opinion is why she didn't go to those weddings with him. So I think for them to go to weddings together, friends or not, you're still going to the wedding with your ex, leads me to believe that they're more than just friends. That's kind of how I'm looking at this.
They were
outside.
More than just friends at one point.
No,
they
but
dated,
I think
right?
they are currently, yes.
More than just friends. Well, I'm curious who friend zoned who. Like, did he say, well, I'm going to be a player and let's just be friends because I don't want anything serious? Or was it her being like, you're a player, I can't be serious with you? I think it's more that second one. You think it was her?
Yes.
So too.
And then he reached out a couple years later. They went back to being communicative. He asked her to a wedding, but I think as someone who's a player like that, he's clearly only asked. He could have asked probably any number of women to go to the wedding, but he asked her to go to these weddings. So for me,
I wonder if it was like within their friend group.
Could be, but either way,
they might have been invited together, at the same time.
Either way, he still thinks enough of her to invite her to the wedding, and now fly halfway across the world to make it seem like he's into her.
Is it now that she's all glittery in The Bachelorette that he's like, oh my gosh, I could have had her?
Well,
is that what it is?
The season hadn't aired yet, so he didn't know how glittery
knows
she was going to be.
Well, look at her.
He didn't know how glittery she was going to be.
She glittered before. Let's be honest. Ryan,
don't dull her sparkle.
Exactly.
Don't dull her sparkle.
Ryan was all in on this.
Fly down to Miami for her.
Listen, I was booking my ticket to New Zealand, and this guy beat me to the punch. So
Jesse was like, sorry, we can only have one unannounced visitor per season.
Plus, I didn't want to have to take another week off the podcast either. So there was something to be said about that. I had little Jenn and little Gina on my shoulder.
We would have had you zoom in from the bathroom of the airport.
Absolutely.
Yep.
It would have been me and Jesse stuffing our face at the local establishment. I would have called in off camera. Yeah, just no doubt about that. But yeah, I think the dynamic now is, A, how is he going to be received in the house, which I think we know that they're not going to be happy about this, and if he's going to stick around going forward.
I want him to stick around.
So do I. I think it's a
really
great
bad.
twist. I think it's a great twist. Gina?
Just at least one episode.
I don't want him to stick around.
Aw.
I don't want him to stick around.
Don't ruin our fun.
Gina's such the fun police.
I think that, what? I want her to, well, first of all, if Jenn wants him to stick around, I will happily accept it. If she doesn't, I accept that too and say that, yes, I think that was the right move.
But he's also had his chance. Let's be honest, right? Exactly. He had a fair shot at her in the past.
Listen, so maybe the timing wasn't right 3 years ago, and now the timing is right.
He woke up and decided he didn't want to be a player anymore. It's a miracle.
Yeah, the next day, while he was in wherever Cartagena, I think it was.
Yes, in Colombia. Yes,
wedding, and he flew from there to New Zealand because he just had to have her. He couldn't be without her.
He said he's going to keep the main thing, is what he said.
Gina doesn't believe any of these guys.
Be mad about that.
Oh,
you're tough this episode.
She
Gina.
is tough this episode. So
I like it though.
Like I said, save the drama for your mama, people. Like
that's why she's wearing the T-shirt. So listen, head count. We were down to 11. Now we're back up to like 11 and a half, pending the status of Matthew. Pending the status of Matthew. then we'll know what we have here going forward. I hope we're back up to 12 ahead of the next rose ceremony. Maybe we get down to 8 or 9. We'll see how it all plays out. But things are getting spicy here on this season of The Bachelor.
I'm excited. I can't wait to see what happens next.
Neither can we. We are all excited. We're excited to talk about it, and we will do so on this very podcast. Jen, what do you want people to do?
I want them to click follow to get our latest podcasts.
I think they should.
Please follow us, and then you'll get all this great news and Gina's insider info.
And her interview with Jenn Tran next week.
Yeah.
We will ask her about Matthew and all the fun things coming
Sams.
up. The Sams, yes.
Sam squared.
Oh, it's going to be good. Jen, we are looking forward to that. And another episode of Playing the Field is in the books for Jen and Gina. I'm Ryan. We look forward to seeing you next week on your favorite Bachelor podcast.